I want to show you an amazing feature that was introduced in C# 8, pattern matching switch statements. So let's say we're writing a function called calculate bonus that takes a number of projects completed and some base rate and comes up with a bonus. And maybe the business logic is a little complicated. So we could write this as an if statement. That's probably the way people would originally think of doing it. So let's do this. Let's say if projects completed is 0, then we're just going to give you no bonus. And if projects completed, if you've done at least one, but fewer than 3, why don't we give you your bonus, just the base? And let's say if projects completed is greater than or equal to 3, then we can give you, let's give you bonus at 1.5. I suppose somebody might put in negative projects completed, and we want to handle that logical case. And let's just handle it with an exception. So here is our basic function calculating bonus. And you can imagine how this might actually be a lot more complicated with more ranges or possibly multiple inputs, but this illustrates the point. So I've written a program here which asks us to calculate bonus for 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 number of projects completed and $500 base. So let's see if this works and gives us what we expect. So 0, 500, 750. That's correct. So this is the basic business logic written with an if statement. Now, many of you know that C# has a basic switch statement, which is not my favorite, but could be used to write this. And I just want to show that to you, and you're probably not going to choose to use it, but it is possible. So let me just comment this out. We might be able to use some of that, but let's write this as a standard switch statement. So the way that works is you start with the switch keyword, and then you list the variable that you're switching on. And then you have to do this case syntax. So if we say case 0, that's easy enough. And now we get to this weird case, which is our range from 1 to 3. So prior to C# 7, you just couldn't do this. Switch statements did not support range syntax. But now you have this odd way of doing this, which, if I can remember, it looks something like this. So you have to sort of declare this local variable here within the case statement, and then you can write a range. Now, for the one that's just greater than or equal to 3, we have basic range syntax, and then we can copy that. And in a switch statement, you have this default, which catches everything else. So I believe now we have a traditional switch statement that does the same thing as our if statement. Let's run it and see if that worked. Yep, that works. So this is not a huge improvement over the if statement. And honestly, in many cases, just if else is so easy to understand, it's not a bad way to go. But in C# 8, we got this amazing thing called pattern matching switch statements. So here's how that looks. We're just going to return, and we say projects completed switch. So it reverses the order. The variable goes before the statement, and it doesn't go in any parens. And this becomes a single statement. So it terminates with a semicolon. And now here's our pattern matching. So pattern 1 is 0. And then we use an arrow function. And we just say, what comes out of the pattern? 0. And then we can use range syntax. So I'm going to use some parens for clarity. But if we can say greater than and equal to 1 and less than 3. There's our next pattern. And what does that result in? That results in bonus base. Our last pattern is going to be greater than or equal to 3. And that results with an arrow function in that. And again, notice these are separated by commas. Right? This is a single statement. And then we do have a discard. The syntax is just an underscore. Here's our exception. And let me comment that out. Oh, I added a semicolon. So I'm going to come back to this, but let's run it and make sure that it works. Yep, same result. So I think you will agree this is much clearer, easier to articulate, takes up a lot less space. It's very compact. So that's a pattern matching switch statement, which replaces some of these complex if or switch statements you may have used in the past. Now, this technique is really powerful. You can use this as a dispatcher to call functions. You can have multiple inputs. There's actually quite a lot you can do with this. And I'm going to paste a URL up here. This is an interesting way to share it, but there you go. If you go to learn.microsoft.com, if you look for C# fundamentals functional pattern matching, you get a really lovely MSDN article about this that goes into all the options. So there you have it, one of my faves, pattern matching switch statements.